Hmm. Grace and peace, everybody. We're back. Thank you so much. This is the week in woke, and my name is Jason. This is Dear Woke Christian, and this is just going to be a good. Usually on Sundays, I do what I call the week in woke, just kind of going over a couple of things that we talked about throughout the week, have some fun, answer questions, so on and so forth. So yesterday, I had the opportunity to have two of my friends on, and we talked about the Supreme Court case, and we started out to read the responses of some different college presidents as it relates to this turning back of affirmative action by the Supreme Court. And it kind of went left, and I just did not feel like reading those letters, but I apologize for that. However, I do want to repay you all by tonight. We are going to look at a summary of the actual case that brought all this kerfuffle to bear. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we get too far, Shar, good to see you, friend. Always good to see you. Eladio, how are you, friend? Grace and peace. Grace and peace to you. Hey, Nakia, good to see you, sister. Good to see you. Good to see you. Glad you all were able to make it. Hopefully, you had a wonderful Lord's Day on today. I'll be talking about the sermon that Joel preached a little later. But it was a great sermon. It was a fantastic Lord's Day. My wife and daughters are out of town, but I was able to go to church, hang out with my mom, and all that kind of good stuff in my church family, and it's been great. Sorry, most sad I missed most of the live yesterday. Watched the replay; it was hilarious. Well, thank you so much. It was a good time. I'm glad I was able to get Talib Smith on as well as Devin Smith. They're not related, and they're just good guys, really good guys. I'm really hoping that you'll see more of them out here in these YouTube suburbs in the future. What's going on, God's fancy girl? Good to see you. Grace and peace to you, sister. But so yeah, it was a great day. Did a lot of errands after church, man. I got my errands on today. So tomorrow will be house cleaning stuff because the girls don't come back till Wednesday. So I got a lot of stuff I want to get done, and we will start and get that done tomorrow. Good to see you, Brenda. Always good to see you. But before we get into this, I do want to talk about the Supreme Court case and such like that. But I do kind of want to point out something that a lot of people are just kind of forgetting. Maybe they're not paying attention to it. The Bible has a lot to say about how we deal with one another. The Bible has a lot to say. So it's not just silent or, J.D. Hall, the Bible whispers. Now, the Bible's pretty clear about how we're to deal with one another in a way that is fair, not necessarily striving for equity. However, it is a fair treatment. And the reason I bring that up is because, make sure my lights are working. They are perfect. The reason I bring that up is because one of the issues with affirmative action, even when it was initially passed, it was not a fair law. But let me show why I say that. Let's go ahead and pull up Leviticus 19. And this is Leviticus 19, 35 through 37. And I'm just going to read the whole thing. There's only one passage that really applies to what I'm talking about right now, but I do want to read it all because I like to give you some context. So 35. You shall do no wrong in judgment. So when I judge something, I should strive to not do wrong. It's pretty straightforward. In measures of length or weight or quantity. Fun fact, that's actually why we have something called the baker's dozen. And if you know the baker's dozen is actually 13 of an item. So a baker would have baked 12 rolls, that would have been a dozen, but he adds another one in there to make sure under no circumstances is he ever accused of shorting somebody. So that's actually what a baker's dozen is. So if you ever heard somebody say a baker's dozen and you notice that it's more than 12, that's why. And this was the verse that actually spurred that idea on, that I don't ever want to be accused of shorting somebody. So if I hand a bag of rolls to the carrier and he eats one of them and gives them to Miss Johnson will still have 12 rolls, even though one of them, the carrier ate one, which is a very possible situation. But anyway, let me continue. You shall have just balances, just weights, a just ephah, and a just hin. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. And, that's actually a lot. The Lord said a lot right there. He told them what they should do, and he told them why they should do it. Why should they do these things? Why should they be just? Why should they be fair? Why should they have equal weights and measures? Because I'm the Lord, that God that brought you out of Egypt. So he's always pointing back to what has been done informs what he's calling you to do. So it's something fun to notice there. And you shall observe all of my statutes and all of my rules and do them. I am the Lord. All right. So the reason I want to point that out is because the affirmative action law that we are referring to, and so many people are hand wringing about, actually was not fair to start with. It really wasn't. And they violated Leviticus up and down and center. Like, really, it's pretty bad. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about it. Now, of course, this is not the only passage. We can talk about James. We can talk about several other places in the Old Testament where it's very clear how we're supposed to deal with one another. But I just want to point this out, that an equal weights and measures issue is here, because we're going to be talking about it when we review this review of the actual case that the Asian American students, the students of Asian descent Americans, brought to Harvard. All right, let's see what we got. Angel Wings in the building. How are you? Good to see you. Always good. Hey, there's Q. Hey, friend. Good to see you. What? I used to sell a baker's dozen of popcorn bags. See, there we go. Q used to have a popcorn business. I always thought that was interesting. All right. So I don't know much about this young lady.
Today,
Her name is Kim Iverson. And I was actually commended to check out this video by a subscriber who reached out to me and said, you should check out this show because she did a great job of summarizing the actual case. And it's not really long. It's kind of entertaining. She has a nice personality, which makes it fun to watch. And however, she's not a raging conservative either. She's, I guess people would say she's left of center. So I think it's fair to say that she's not going to be just saying this just because she wants to side with Candace, or saying this because she sides with somebody else on the right. No, she just read the case and is making a fair assessment. So let's check it out. What's going on? Okay, I think I saw everybody, a little family reunion going on. So let us listen to Kim. Can you please let me know if you can hear this, if everything sounds okay on your
the Supreme
end?
Court ruled to end race-based college admissions, effectively ending affirmative action. Now, conservatives who fought against affirmative action for decades cheered. Many
Okay.
liberals and leftists, on the other hand, were upset over today's ruling. Here's what
All right. So clearly I can hear it. So I want to make sure you all can hear it well. All right. Here she goes. She's giving a summary. Here's a couple of people. And what do they think about it? Let's go. Let's hear from Ron DeSantis.
some of the presidential candidates had to say. Let's start off with Ron DeSantis. He goes on and says what you would expect Ron DeSantis to say: college admissions should be based on merit, and applicants should not be judged on their race or ethnicity. The Supreme
Why
Court
does that
has
have to actually be
correctly
said?
upheld.
Why does that have to be said? Why in 2023 do we have to remind people that, hey, we judge people based upon what they can do and their merit rather than their externals, something like their skin color? Why does that have to be said? And why is it so controversial that we're saying that? Because please keep in mind, the people now that feel like they are of a moral superiority are the ones that are wanting race-based decision making. How are you now? How do you now have the high ground, or so you think? How does that even work? I don't understand how that works.
Held the Constitution and ended discrimination by colleges and universities. Cornel West, who is running on the Green Party ticket, had this to say. Now, he had a big, interview on CNN, but
I think Cornel West, besides the fact that he looks like a cat drug him in, um, I think he's just comical. I think he is a true gem of comedy, because you hear Cornel West talk a lot about black people, black people, black people, how black people should be black people, and the such of black people and the such like that. And I just think that's really empowering. I think it's really great. And it's actually really adorable when you go and do the research. Research who Cornel West is married to. You're going to have a good laugh.
but we're not going to play that long clip. He just said, "What a sad day. This is another attack on Black people. Let us prepare for a more intense fight back." Here's my statement on affirmative action on my sister Dana Bash's CNN show, where he went on to basically say that he's very upset about it. She brought up what Clarence Thomas had to say, and he says, my brother Clarence Thomas is just once again wrong. So he had very strong opinions about this. Let's go on to see what
Equal weights and measures. Equal weights and measures. Why would you want, and this is a serious question, why would you want to enrich a school, a deli counter, a bike company, a shoe company, whatever, that you feel did not respect you as a person? Why would you want to fight for them to be able to take your money? Because that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. Harvard, if they were, let's just say they were as racist as people want to claim that they were, that they looked at ethnicity and they thumbs down, turn their nose up at different ethnic groups. You are fighting to be able to give them money. Make that make sense, please. I will wait. There is no way in the world you can convince me that giving money to somebody who hated you, or you think hated you, or you think didn't like you think doesn't support you, is a good thing. I have no idea how that worked. How did that work? So this idea that is bad for Black people, and Cornel West is wrong. He's wrong, and I'll say that again just for the people in the back. Cornel West is wrong. Doing away with affirmative action is not bad for Black people. It's not bad for Asian people, Hispanic people, white people. It's not bad for people at all. You know why? Because it will now cull the herd. And what I mean by that is let a school, and you're going to see in a moment how Harvard was making decisions on schooling and how they were making decisions on admission. It was really gross. And this is with affirmative action. It was super gross. But this will allow people to say, you know what? This school is not fair. I don't want to support them. I don't want to give them my money. I don't want them to be propped up by my educational prowess. Therefore, I am going to go somewhere else and do better somewhere else. I'm just saying. Let us continue.
what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had to say about
What do you have
affirmative
to say?
action, the end of affirmative action today. He says, regarding the Supreme Court banning affirmative action in higher ed, I know many Americans feel that purely race-based decisions are unfair. However, this feeling misses important context. The effects of racist policies going back centuries are now self-perpetuating.
How? Please understand, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not giving you any actual data. Now, again, it is a tweet, so we have to give a little bit of grace there because tweets are what they are. However, listen to what he said. He said race-based decisions are unfair. However, this feeling misses important context. The effects of racist policies going back centuries are now self-perpetuating. How? How is that? How? Because please keep in mind, by making, let's just say that he's telling the truth. Let's just say that Harvard was, in fact, they hated Black folk, they hated Hispanic people, and so on and so forth, and they were trying to keep the thumb on these people groups. Well, now by forcing them to accept students that they hated and they were trying to keep the thumb on, you're now enriching the school with more monies that maybe they wouldn't have gotten if they had just had to fight it out in the court, in the marketplace of fair decisions. Just something to think about. I don't see how giving money to somebody that you feel disrespects you, doesn't support you, actually makes it better. Because I truly believe that by not by forcing everybody to accept people whether they wanted to or not, you actually allow them to hide and maintain this quote unquote self-perpetuating racist policies from centuries ago. They would have died out because they wouldn't have been able to remain in the marketplace. But because you opened up the market, I'm sorry, you didn't open up the marketplace, you hamstrung the marketplace to have to accept people that they did not want. Guess what? Now nobody knows who's who.
Affirmative action understands this and uses race-based policies to undo the effects of racist policies. Colorblind
That sounds like something Ibram X. Kendi would have said. He uses racist policy. Let me back there. Affirmative action understands this. And how does affirmative action understand something? Affirmative action is a law, is a decision. Like, how does that understand something? Because in a minute, we're going to look at what Harvard was doing that actually brought about the case that we are now looking at. And you can tell me, did Harvard understand? Did affirmative action understand this? And uses race-based policies, which, by the way, are racism, to undo the effects of racist policies. That's the quintessential fire, using fire to fight fire in the bad way.
Affirmative action understands this and uses race-based policies to undo the effects of racist policies. Colorblind admissions tend to favor those who are already in the circle of privilege. It favors those who grew up in an affluent, educated households. Wouldn't you like to invite in those who have been left out in the cold?
What does that actually mean? When we say things like the um the soft bigotry or blatant bigotry of low expectations, are you trying to honestly say that a student that, and again, you're going to see that Harvard was not giving fair opportunities and equal weight and measure to all people groups. They were selectively picking people and literally making new categories and decisions, and stopping certain people based upon whole cloth made up categories. It's crazy. Is this really what you want to be known for, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? Colorblind admissions tends to favor those. And we're going to talk about colorblind admissions in a second, because just let them see. Let it go, Jason.
Okay. Let's look one last presidential candidate. Vivek Ramaswamy says, I strongly disagree with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that affirmative action is about letting in those who've been left out in the cold. That's wrong. The majority of Black students at Harvard are not descendants of slaves, but
Come on,
descendants of immigrants.
come on,
Giving special preferences to someone who looks like a person who once
come
suffered
on.
is not justice. We should finally embrace colorblind meritocracy in America rather than to repeat our past mistakes. Okay.
No, I agree. I don't know how to pronounce Vivek's name, but I agree with Vivek.
So where do I fall on
Where do
this
you fall,
whole
Jim?
entire debacle with the Supreme Court and everybody up in arms today? Absolutely, SCOTUS made the right decision today. This policy that was in place, this lawsuit, was absolutely racist to its core. And I'm going to explain to you the entire court case, because I know many leftists and liberals and many people that I agree with on a lot of things are like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and many other liberals and leftists that I've seen online are up in arms about this, and they're saying this is wrong, this is bad. And I'm here to tell you and to educate people a bit more about what this case entailed. It was deeply, deeply, deeply racist at its.
And and I know I've gotten, and if you follow me for a while, I know I generally don't use the word racist. It is partial, though. I know she's using the word racist, and I've kind of gotten a little bit loose with that, and I need to correct myself. It is partial, and you're going to see in a second. This was wild what they were doing. It was wild. They deserve to get sued for this. All right, let us go.
Core, it was a terrible policy, and thank goodness they have reversed this. So the lawsuit is not about white people. A lot of people are out there saying,
That's
oh,
funny.
now
Yes.
white people are going to win. This is a win for white people this, white people that. This case had to do with Asian students. Okay, this was Asian students who were being discriminated by Harvard and other universities. And in particular, Harvard's methodology for admittance was they asserted that Asian.
Okay, get ready for this, because you are not, unless you've actually read this or heard this already, you're not ready for this. This is what Harvard was doing, and this is under affirmative action. This is their interpretation of affirmative action. All right. So, good gracious.
Students had bad personalities and bad character. That is essentially what they said. This lawsuit had been going on since November of 2014. It was Students for Fair Admissions. They filed a lawsuit in the federal district court against Harvard University back in that 2014 of November, representing a group of anonymous Asian American plaintiffs who were rejected from Harvard University. Now, students get rejected all the time from Harvard, right? Lots of applicants.
Students get rejected from colleges, period. So it's not just Harvard. Every school has a number of applicants that get in and a number of applicants that don't. I'm sorry, that receive, and a number of students that don't actually become students. So that's not new. But listen to what Harvard was doing.
And students get rejected. But what was going on here with this group of students is they said, wait a minute, I've got amazing test scores. I have amazing grades. So why did I not get in? Like, why did you let in this other student that maybe didn't have as good of grades and didn't have as high of test scores, but you let them in and you didn't let me in? So if that's the case, then I deserve to know what your criteria is for admission.
Okay, so stop. So all the students had good grades. They had great test scores. They had a lot of community service. They had great resumes, educational resumes, and they weren't getting in. So they said, what is your criteria? How are you determining how we get in if it's not grades, test scores, community service, so on and so forth? Watch this.
Because I see on the website what it says. I followed that. I've got all this extracurricular activity. So you need to tell us if there's some other admission criteria that you are basing admission on, and we would like to know what that is. And Harvard essentially came back and said, well, we want to diversify the student body. And so we believe in a holistic approach to admission. And so
holistic approach. What does that mean? What does holistic mean? What is that? What in the world? Wait till you hear this. Wait.
So we don't just want to go off of test scores and grades and extracurricular. Maybe you're in sports, maybe you're in music. We don't really want to go off of that anymore, just solely off of that. We want to have like a minimum criteria. And then after that, we want to go off of personality and character traits. Now, this is
personality and character traits. This is, again, under affirmative action. They are using personality and character traits. Not test scores, not grades, not educational resumes. Personality traits and character.
This is where it gets really deeply racist. Because that sounds fine, right? On the surface, that sounds fair enough. Like, you want to have a more holistic student body. Grades and test scores don't tell you everything. There's a lot of people who excel in life, who are extremely successful, who got bad grades or mediocre grades. They weren't top, 16, getting perfect scores in the SATs and perfect grades all the time. They were, people that there's like a variety there. So you might want to look at this more holistic. That sounds fine, except what was going on is that when they were doing the admissions process through the court cases that have gone on, because again, this started in 2014.
So almost 9 years ago, like this has been going on for 9 years, the court case. Listen to what they were doing.
As they went through this court battle over the years, they were able to in the lawsuits, receive the files for the admissions. And they were able to go through these files, and they found that Harvard, when they would do the grading scale of, okay, you've got these tests, you've got these grades, and then they would do this grading scale of personality and character, and they would, by and large, basically say that Asian students had poor personalities and low character. And
again, this is under affirmative action, people, that Asian students had low character and bad personalities. I'm just trying to tell you.
That Black students had the highest scores on personality and character. And Latino students were second.
I have great personality and great character, but I would hate for you to judge me to get in school because of that. How would you feel if your doctor, you walked in to get your physical, you walked in to get treated, and They weren't the best in the class. They just had really great personality and great character. Now, granted, I would like for you not to be stealing from me. Yes, of course. I'd like to have a good bedside manner, but I really need you to know what's wrong with me and help me get better. This is ridiculous. Continue, Kim. Maybe,
Highest,
maybe not.
whites were third, and Asians scored the lowest in personality and character. Now, is Harvard really saying when they were taken to court?
Yes, they were.
The attorneys asked the questions. Harvard, are you actually saying that the Asian race, because we're seeing this by and large, that it was Asian students absolutely scored the lowest, Black students scored the highest on this personality and character traits, and then Latinos and whites. So are you saying that as a race, Asians have bad personalities and low character, and Blacks have the best personalities and the best character? Are you really saying that racially, people, that this is how it is? If you're Asian, you probably just have a crappy personality and crappy, character.
Actually, that's what they were saying. And she's about to explain in a second, because remember when she started out, the students all had great test scores. The students all had great backgrounds, educational resumes were all on point. So basically, the playing field was even in that regard, that they had everything they needed. So the Asian students, the Hispanics, the whites, the Blacks, and everybody else all were similar in that regard. So watch what they did.
And they said, well, of course not. We're not really saying that, because that's pretty racist, right? It's really racist to say that. To say that by and large, an entire group of people racially have piss poor character and the other group has great character. That's pretty racist. Imagine saying that about white people and Black people. White people have great character, pristine. They get the highest marks. Black people, not so much. That's racist. Okay.
So that is partiality. I'm not going to keep calling it racism, but it is partiality. No question there, Kim. Carry on.
Fundamentally, this is really racist. So they said, no, of course not. We're not really, it's not that. And they said, well, really, because when we look at the actual, all things being equal, if you've got 100 Black students, 100 white students, 100 Latino students, and 100 Asian students, and let's just say all of these groups, they all scored perfect on their SATs. They all have 4.5 GPAs. They all play sports. They all do music. They all volunteer at the animal shelter. Okay, you take all things being equal. What they discovered when they went through this is that Asians scored the lowest, and then whites, and then Latinos and Blacks, to the level that only 25% of those perfect students would get in the Asian group. Of the white group, it was 36% would get in. Of the Latino group, it was 77% would get in. And of the Black group, it was 95% would get in.
So again, if 400 students, 100 Asian, 100 Hispanic, 100 white, 100 Black students, all equal in all of their academic prowess, if they all applied, only 25% of the Asians would get in, 95% of the Black students would get in. This is all, again, under affirmative action. This is Harvard applying affirmative action, people.
They said, according to your admission standards, all things being equal, and the only thing you have to judge these students on is personality and character. You said that 75% of the Asian kids didn't have what it took, but 95% of the Black students did, as far as having great personalities and great character. That is pretty racist. It should be pretty equal. If you have 100, 100, 100, 100 perfect students, and they're all things being equal, then if we believe that people, that the color of your skin does not matter, if you really truly are not racist, then the same number of Asian kids in this perfect group would get in as the same number of Black kids, the same number of Latinos, and the same number of whites, because of course you're going to have the same number of great personalities and high character in all of the groups, because races should be equal.
And I want to just, again, accentuate that point, that that's what Harvard was doing. They were showing partiality. They were having an unequal weights and measures. How do you determine personality and character? That was a very fluid, description. If 95% of black kids had perfect character and personality, but only 20% of Asian students had the same, I'm sorry, that you're doing something. There's some thumb on the scale somewhere. And I think we all know that that was it. Continue.
And instead, what they saw was a massive disparity, that these Asian kids were extremely discriminated against. And basically, the school said, you don't have good character because you're Asian. You know, that's ultimately what it
That's
is.
basically what they're saying. They're basically saying that. But please keep in mind, that's what affirmative action was saying from the beginning, that black people can't compete, that minority groups can't compete on an equal playing field. You can't get the same grades. Therefore, we must do something different in order to allow you to be able to compete.
Have a crappy personality. We don't want people like you at our school. Now we know the real reason why they did it this way. The real reason is because Asian students were getting in at a disproportionately high rate. They had higher test scores, higher, the higher extracurriculars, test scores, and GPAs.
And let's just stop there. Is that possible? Is that reasonable that Asian students could have higher grades, test scores, and extracurriculars? Is that reasonable? Yeah, it is. Is that some form of systemic anything? No, it's just a truth. Now, could something be done? One of the problems that you see here with this argument is that it's all about excusing and making excuses for a very clear issue rather than resolving said issue and say, okay, there's something that black people need to do. There's something that people of high melanin need to do in order to compete. Rather than that, it's an excuse, and we're going to hear some more.
So what was actually going on was that students that did not have the criteria, so all things were not actually equal. The Asian students were scoring higher, the Asian students were getting higher GPA, and yet they still were being discriminated against and not allowed into the school. And it's because they said, well, it's because you have a crappy personality and you don't have very good character, so that's why. So we know that the real reason is because Asians were disproportionately getting into the school.
Mm-hmm.
And Black and Latino kids were not. They were being disproportionately underrepresented in society, and Asians were overrepresented in society. And so Harvard tried to figure out a way to level it out. And the only thing they could come up with.
And remember, this is all under affirmative action, race-based educational practices. This is them doing what they think they're supposed to be doing to fulfill the law and the decision of affirmative action. Just something to think about.
Is let's just crap on their character or boost up the character of another group. That is fundamentally racist at its core. It's pretty bad, actually. It's really, really bad. In fact, it's so bad that this is a repeat of history. We've seen this before. Back in the day, in the 20s, in the 1900s, 10s, 20s, and 30s, all the way up until 1960, institutions like Harvard and Yale used that same exact criteria where they said, well, in order to limit this particular group from getting in, they're growing in number, it's too much, it's disproportionate, we don't like it. And in order to limit their ability to get in the school, we're going to start basing them on their character. And when we do that, we're going to be able to limit them. And that was Jewish students. So back in the day in Yale, here's an article from Yale that kind of characterized this. This is an old article from the archive, and this one is actually from the 80s, but they're talking about what had happened in that time period. And it said a document, a folder now in the university archives, this is for Yale, labeled Jewish Problem, contains a memo from the admissions chairman of 1922 urging limits on, quote, the alien and unwashed element. The next year, the admissions committee enacted the limitation of numbers policy, which is an informal quota. Jewish enrollment was held to about 10% for 4 decades. There were vicious, ugly forms of discrimination at Yale, as with the larger society. The current Yale University secretary, John A. Wilkinson, said, it's part of our history and we should face up to it.
So you don't face up to it by doing it. That doesn't even make sense. That goes back to the weird statement that Robert F. Kennedy said, like, well, we defeat racist policies by doing racial, I don't know what he was talking about. It sounded like something crazy. Let's continue.
Now, Harvard has a similar problem. Here's an article from the Times of Israel. Is Harvard capping the number of Asian Americans it admits into the school as it once did? Um, and it actually goes over what Harvard did at that time, which was, it says here that, let me get to this article. It says Harvard in 1922, Harvard President Abbott Lawrence Lowell had a problem. His school had too many Jews. At least that's what he thought. As the country's
Wow.
Jewish population ballooned in the early 20th century, the Jewish proportion of Harvard students increased exponentially too. In 1900, just 7% of the Ivy League school students were Jewish. By 1922, the figure was 21.5%. Lowell felt that some were deficient in character. And even if they weren't, he feared that they would drive away potential white Anglo-Saxon Protestant students who would go on to be America's political and economic elite, as well as future
All right. I don't know why it looks like it's
donors to schools like
freezing again.
Harvard. So he actually started saying, all right, in order to limit them, because they're getting great grades, they're getting the test scores, they're getting the grades, they're getting everything that they need to do academically to get into our institution. So we're going to have to judge them based on character. We
I have no
believe
idea.
Jews to be deficient in character, and therefore we can limit the number of them that get into our school, and we can make way for other groups to be in. And so they limited it to 10% for decades. And that is what they found in this court case that went to SCOTUS, was that these Asian students found that even though the population of Asians has increased, even though more Asian applicants applied, the same
All right. Sorry about that. I have no idea why it's doing that.
number kept getting in year after year after year after year. It didn't increase. So clearly, they had a cap on how many Asians could get in, and their excuse was deficient in character. Is that not racist? That is the most racist thing I've ever heard of. And maybe I'm biased because I'm Asian, but I'd like to think I'm not deficient in character or have a crappy personality compared to my white, Latino, and Black counterparts. And so therefore, I'm not allowed in because as an Asian, I've just got a crappy personality. That is essentially what they said. So all of
I
these
mean,
liberals that are
that is what they said. I don't sugarcoat it, Kim. That's what they said. And I think we should be honest and say, yeah, that is a janky application of this janky law. The law itself was already bad to start with, and now the application of it, the fruit of it, is even worse. But let us continue. Hey,
cheer
Smith,
that are
good to meet you.
devastated actually by this, and they feel like, oh my gosh, how dare now the school is no longer allowed to do this.
Right.
What a shame. The school is no longer allowed to tell students you can't get in because we believe your ethnic group, your race have bad personalities and are deficient in character.
Like, imagine thinking that you are superior by arguing that. Like, you have the moral high ground by saying, we we choose not to have your people group here at this school or this job or this workplace or wherever because we think you all have deficient character and bad personality. Imagine thinking that you have the moral high ground when you say that. Amazing.
People are now upset about this. So I think a lot of them just, first of all, don't understand this. They're kind of having a knee-jerk reaction and saying, oh, affirmative action was great because that leveled out the playing field. No, it didn't. Even then, affirmative action, even if it wasn't about what Harvard was doing, what these
Mhm.
schools were doing by limiting Asian students, coming up with creative ways to limit Asian students, even if it wasn't about that, and it was just the concept of affirmative action, we are in 2023. The fact that all these Asian students were getting in, and this is a minority group, the fact that Asian students were able to get into these universities shows that you can get in if you work hard. You can get in
There
if
we go.
you
Come on.
get those test scores, you get the grades, you do the extracurricular activities, you do the work, you can get in. And you don't have to be white. You can get in being a
Yeah.
different color other
I have no idea why this is starting to freeze. I apologize, y'all.
than
And
white if you just work hard. And what we also know about universities is that they're incredibly liberal. So they already are not going to, they're not going to be racist institutions that are only going to be allowing in white kids. That is the most ridiculous. At this day and age, with how liberal universities are, it's ridiculous to think that they need to have this sort of handicap. that a liberal university that is censoring all kinds of
Come on.
conservative, censoring dissent, doesn't want to hear anything except the liberal narrative. It is insane to believe that at this day and age, these universities are genuinely kneecapping minorities in order to benefit whites. If anything, it is the other way around. And that is exactly what we saw in this case. And these Asian students that were suing, what we saw was that the university is now kneecapping minority groups in order to help out other minority groups.
Right.
And they're saying, we're going to use affirmative action differently now. Now it's not just against whites, it's whites and Asians. And we're going to benefit Latinos and blacks. Until when?
And
So
where do Indian people fall in? Where do Native Americans fall in? What about natural born Africans? Where do they fall in this mix of clownery? But I don't think, again, this is a horribly thought out idea. And by the way, we have our brother Talib is in the building. What's happening, man? What's going on,
Hey,
man? What's up, man? You ready for round
what's
two, man? You
up?
ready to give us
What's
some?
up?
You ready to break this
Man,
down, man?
I saw it getting on, man, and you getting into the ridiculousness of the arguments.
It
And I
is.
was like, man, I gotta tag in.
Well, I'm gonna let you tag in,
Tag.
man. So tell me where are you in this? So tell me what you're thinking about this. Oh, by the way, this is Talib Smith. He was with me on yesterday with Devin, who is not his cousin. But today we're gonna tell me what your thoughts are, man. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, she's spot on. You know what I mean? Like we know it all comes down to semantics. You
Mhm.
know, it's a rhetorical argument at this point, you know, in terms of not wanting to get caught, you know, red-handed.
For
You
sure.
know, when it comes to discrimination, when it comes to, you know, racial identifiers, they just don't want to get caught. So they'll put it underneath a different banner, different auspice. So yeah, it's just playing hide and go seek, you know, when it comes to, you know, what they're actually doing and what the real agenda is. So she's spot on, and it gets uncovered, and that's what I was saying, you know, yesterday in terms of when you see people that qualify and they're not
Mhm.
getting in, that's gonna uncover the real motive and a real agenda. You know, of course, I was just trying to hit the escape hatch. You know what I mean? Nowadays, rhetorically, you know,
No,
with a real flimsy argument at that.
no, I agree. I agree. And I mean, Kim makes a great point that I think many people are forgetting. This is a college. This is not your, conservative mecca. This is not the right wing fortress of solitude. No, this is a liberal college. So why were
Hmm.
they needing to be even more liberal already? You already expected to have 95% black black enrollment. Why are you doing this? Because this is not a conservative school at all. And I thought that was a great point that she made. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, let's go. By the way, good to see you, Willie Doc, as well as Caldwell Politics in the building. Man, I done got an upgrade. Man, good to see y'all. I apologize if I've not shouted y'all out. Susie's in the building as well as Future. Always good to see my good people right there. Good to see you all. Thank you so much for stopping by on this evening. I appreciate all of you. And let's finish up. Let's finish up. Give Kim room to finish this
it,
out.
it's a racist policy at its core. At its core now, these days, you don't need the handicap. You just have to work hard. You have to get the test grades. These schools would love nothing more but to admit in boatloads of black students and Latinos if they're getting the grades and they're getting the test scores. And you and I both know this.
And before you jump on here and say that black people can't get the test scores, hold tight, people. Remember, Harvard it was looking at 100 Asian, 100 Hispanic, 100 white, and 100 black. They had everything else was equal. So don't tell me black people can't. And by the way, that means that you would be embracing that soft underbelly, that soft pedal bigotry that black people can't do. So be careful before you get in the comment section. You're welcome to get in there, but I'm gonna get back at you. But I'm gonna encourage you, don't do that. Don't do it. Don't even go there. Finish drinking
We
your
know that
latte.
that's exactly how they would behave. If all things were truly equal, they would be opening the doors and saying, let's let in all of the Latinos and all of the blacks and even it out, and no more white kids and
some reason or another, it's pausing, and I have no idea why.
No more Asian kids if all things were truly equal. And affirmative action ending it allows them to do that, actually. Allows them to say, this is our standard, these are the
Yeah.
test scores you need to get, these are the grades you need to get, these are the
Right.
extracurriculars you need. And you need to come in here with all of that. And then they would happily, they're definitely not going to be saying, well, we only want white kids. We're talking about liberal universities in America. It's just not going to happen. And not only that, but the bottom line is for those that are still that are cheering about this and
Yeah, I don't know what that is about. You want to jump in real quick, Talib, while we allow it to buffer?
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean it's basically just nonsense, man. She's exposing, a lot of the nonsense. The court case exposed it, and like just it's ludicrous, man, how this can go on for so long, and
Yeah,
it'd be something that's commonplace, you know what I mean? We think that this is just a part of the fabric of the country, when it comes to racial identifiers and applicants for colleges and universities. I mean, and I mean it happens on in more arenas than that too. But
oh, for sure,
uh,
absolutely.
yeah, when it comes to academia, man, like schools should want the best quality students,
Right,
but because it's a virtue signal component in place now. Now we got to look quote unquote diverse, and now because we might lose funding. It's all about your political standing. Might be a lot of lobbyists in there. That fund up stuff to the school. Who knows what's going on behind the curtain.
for sure.
But we know that this is just nonsense at its core. And it's time to stop just taking what liberals feed us.
Yes,
It's time to stop taking the reasoning that we're given on MSNBC and CNN and all these different propaganda outlets. They're not media outlets. Let's be clear. They're definitely propaganda outlets.
for sure.
And really critically think now, can we have a serious discussion about these things? Can somebody bring up an actually good argument and discuss it? Yeah, if you have a good argument, yeah, I'm willing to discuss it, with some hard with some hard facts.
Well, most
You know
certainly,
what I
yeah,
mean? And some empirical data. Like let's do that. But let's be serious about it. Let's not make it ad hominem attack.
yep,
You know what I mean? Where it's I'm coming at you with facts, but you want to come at, the person instead of the argument. And that's what you get a lot of. If you don't agree with this, then you're racist. If you don't agree with this, then you're part of the white supremacist establishment. And you've been fooled into doing these things because you want to find favor in some white supremacist ideology,
mhm.
and people's sight. Like it's absurd, man, and it causes the black community to be monolithic in thought.
I,
It's the very cultic way of forcing that type of thought on a group of people.
I'm going to actually just add that not only does it cause black people to think monolithically, I don't think it causes us to see ourselves as being able to solve problems and want to strive to be better, but rather, oh, the reason we can't
Absolutely.
is because somebody over there. The reason we can't is because something happened 220 years in the past. So that's why we can't. So
Mhm.
therefore, we can't do better because all of these externals, rather than, you know what? Because and before you jump in the comment section, please remember in the 1930s, the
Mhm.
black community looked totally different than it will look in the 2030s. It's going to be totally different. So remember, that was only 60 years post slavery, and they were a different breed. Our great grandparents were a different cloth. So why is it now when they were only six? Some of them were sharecroppers. Some of them may have even been involved
Mhm.
in slavery. Booker T. Washington was a slave.
That's a slave.
Why
Yeah.
is it that now we don't have that? Everybody we're looking at today is pointing back in the past saying that's why I can't be successful today. Just remember that
Absolutely.
before you jump in the comment section. You're welcome to get in that comment section, but you might get this work. So just be aware of that. So I mean, there's no feelings are going to be coddled in the comment section, but please. All right, let's see what Kim's got to say. Hopefully this thing is not going to buffer.
Saying this is great. This ends this discriminatory practice, and now more Asians are going to get into the school. Not necessarily. These universities are crafty and they're clever, and they're going to figure out another way to get around this. And the way they can get around this is because the Supreme Court ruling allowed a loophole. And that loophole is, as long as you're not categorically saying Asians have bad personalities, by and large, blacks have better personalities, by and large. And so just by basis of your race, we're going to determine your personality or your likely personality just based on your race and your likelihood of life experience based on your race. They're no longer allowed to do that. But what they are allowed to do
What are they allowed to
is
do?
to allow students to express how their race has shaped their experiences. So now, rather than
Listen
just
to this.
categorically
Wait,
saying all
wait.
black students
I
have,
want y'all to get ready for this because this is what they're using. This is how they're going to get around. And I can't wait to see how this the overturning of affirmative action gets played out in other areas. I can't wait. But this right here, people, this right here, this stole my lunch money.
have
Let's
this,
go.
this great character, and because they went through adversity, and all Asian students don't, they have to do it on a case-by-case basis, but they still can do it.
Wow.
So what they can do is they can tell all the black students, write us an essay. How has your racial identity, how has it hindered you or helped you in your life? Like, what has it done for you? And students have to write these essays, and that's just part of the admission process. And so now what they're going to be able to do is they'll be able to say, well, no, we just read the essays. We read the essays. And 95% of the black students in this group of 100, their essays were wonderful, and they were really tear-jerking, and we really felt like their race had shaped their life experience, and that's the type of student we want at our school. And these Asian kids, of the 100, only 25 of them met that criteria. The other 75, they really weren't able to show us how their racial makeup shaped them to a point that we feel like is beneficial for our school. So they actually get an out. As long as they ask for the students to write an essay, they can now say it wasn't based on just them categorically being whatever race they were. It was based on this tear-jerking essay that they wrote. So this is not the end, really, of affirmative action. It might be the end of race-based admission, where they say, well, we believe because of your race that you should be allowed into the school, and we lower the standards, or we allow more of you in than other groups.
Okay, I'm gonna let that. Talib, what I see you shaking your head, man. You look like that.
Oh man, I mean, I knew they were gonna. I mean, you know that it's some type of think tank just at work, 24/7, thinking about how we can get around this thing to keep the admissions the same way, just using a different methodology. And I mean, to me, I mean, it's still, of course, it's still race based, because you're saying, tell us about how race has done this. You're gonna look for
Like, write about it. Like, that's crazy. That is crazy.
Let me tell you how being a black man how being growing up in an urban community, and you're going to look for all of the language, all of the markers in the essay in order to
Yeah,
determine
for sure.
who you're gonna give favor to, in terms of the admissions process. Like that,
I want you to write.
it is it's a game. It's just such a game now.
I want you to write out the lyrics to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and use that in your admission. I want you to write it out.
Exactly.
I think it'll be a hit, man. It'll be a hit. I love it. I love it. All right, let's let Kim finish this up. Let's let Kim finish this up.
At practice based on race, but there are other loopholes to get around it. But I do think this was the right ruling today from SCOTUS. This was a very racist policy that at its core is not right. We cannot be saying that certain racial groups have bad personalities or low character compared to other racial groups. That is fundamentally racist. This needed to end. And this took down affirmative action in general with it because, like I said, it's not needed at universities these days. It really isn't. If anything, there's other things that we're going to have to look for, like other types of hindering of white students and Asian students, apparently, because that's
Mhm.
what they've proven to us that they're willing to do. All
Wow.
right. Field of Greens is a great product. Absolutely.
Sorry about that. All right, that was it. Thank you so much, man, Kim. That was great. All right, so like I
Yeah.
said, Harvard was wilding out, man. Harvard was wilding out.
Still
And how
wilding
many
out.
other schools are doing the exact same thing? How many other schools are doing the exact same thing? Uh,
It's sad. It's
um,
really sad, man.
Atlanta
Um,
since '82 is actually writing out your Harvard admissions applications for you.
I
There
forgot
she
that
go.
part. That's right. Yeah, I did. I did
There she-
spend most of my days
That's it. She's taking care of you.
there.
She's getting you taken care of. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
It's just
man. But
go ahead.
what I wanted to say was, at some point though, just like to piggyback off what we were kind of the argument we were making yesterday. Why would you want to go somewhere where they don't want you? You
Absolutely.
know, Asians start going. They're going to start going somewhere else.
Yeah.
Eventually, that's what they should do, in my opinion.
Oh no, I agree.
If this school is rejecting you based on some made up criteria called personality, how do you how do you even determine
Right.
somebody's personality based on an application? Did you stand and notice? Did you get to note? Did you see the facial expression? Do you know their family history, their background, the adversity they've been through? No, you don't know any of that. You're basing it
None of it.
on some flimsy criteria that you can attach any meaning to, because personality is a very vague terminology,
Oh, for sure.
to begin with, and you can stuff any type of meaning into that,
Yeah.
and make it mean what you want it to mean to your advantage. So at some point, go somewhere else. Go somewhere else that they don't care, as long as you meet the qualifications and they allow you to get in and get an education. That the education that you desire and you deserve. That's what it's about. Opportunity, because that's not that's not that's not equality then.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, affirmative action is not equality, because if it's equality, then it's equality of opportunity.
Yeah.
Equality of opportunity.
Now I said it yesterday. I said I was gonna get on people's nerve because I was gonna say that this is a private property discussion. And what I mean by
Mm,
that is if you own your property, you can do whatever you want to do with it. If you can't do whatever you want to do with your property, short of hurting somebody else, then you don't truly own your property. Now, y'all don't like this, and you're not going to feel good about it. It's not going to make you feel all warm and fuzzy. Harvard owns their property. If they want to make bad decisions with their property, they should be
mhm.
allowed to make bad decisions. And you should be allowed to not support them making bad decisions. Now, most of us were probably already out of college, or maybe we have children that are looking at colleges. But for the vast majority of us, this is kind of like, whatever, I don't care. I'm not going to college. I never wanted to go to Harvard in the first place. That's fine. Let's go with your grocery store, your local grocery store. They own that property and they can make decisions that you don't like. You liking a decision is not a requisite for them being in business. Oh, well, Jason's got to like it. So therefore, otherwise we're not going to make any money. No, they can do things that you don't like and that you don't approve of, but it's their property to do so. And we know this is true because I don't drink, but there are liquor stores. I'm offended by the liquor store. I'm and so therefore it's wrong that no, it's not, Jason. You're just a grown man. You're going to ignore that and keep on moving on. So I can do
Mhm.
the exact same thing there. They discriminate against me because they don't serve coffee in a liquor store. And that's discriminating against me. No, it's not, Jason. It's their property and they choose to sell alcohol. Thank you. Same thing with the grocery store. They choose to sell what they choose to sell. If you don't like it, you go,
Go
watch
somewhere else.
this, somewhere else, or you start your own thing. And I don't think people realize and have taken the time to consider that, like, hey, this is a private property issue. I don't agree with what Harvard was doing, but they have the right to do that. Just like anyone else would have the right to do what they want to do with their property. And again, me liking it, me approving it, and whatnot is irrelevant. Why do you want to why do you want to enrich someone that doesn't want to serve you? I don't understand that for the life of me. And I'm gonna let you jump in. But I always thought this was weird. I never send food back. If I go to a restaurant, I don't like it, I never send food back. It could be undercooked, it could still be mooing. I'm not gonna send it back. I don't feel good about that. One, the server didn't, it's not his or her fault. But I have a family member who will send something back 2-3 times easily. Easily. I'm like, bruh, you might not want to eat that. I'm just saying. At this point, if they can't get the burger right, at this point, let's just go on and go to Chick-fil-A or Cookout or something. Come on, bro. I'm gonna take you. Don't send it back anymore, and definitely don't eat it. But why would you want to keep doing that and think that nothing's gonna go south in that? Why? So my point in that is, if you feel that a company or an institution is not positive towards you, why do you feel like giving them money is going to make them appreciate you more? That makes no sense to me.
Yeah. It's a part of it is too, we get we get I won't say addicted, but we get comfortable with the resource.
Oh, for sure,
You know
for
what I
sure.
mean? Like, Harvard's education, Harvard is a long-standing institution
Mhm.
of higher education, Ivy League, has a reputation. It means a lot to have that on your degree. So just the history and the reputation is going to draw people, you know.
Yeah,
Same with, I'll take it all the way down to the Chinese store, the corner Chinese store
yeah.
or bodega. Why is it that, if the community that goes in there, the black community that goes in there and gives them service, and the interactions that happen in there sometimes, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? The hostility that's there, between the Asians and the black community. Why continue to give them your money? Because you want some Chinese food,
There you go.
and you don't want to
Mm.
give that up. So you rather yell and get rude, with the people that's handling your food,
Right.
and say,
Like,
and accuse them of taking your money, and saying, y'all don't do anything for this neighbor, but you keep walking in every week,
no,
ordering your
nobody's
General
requiring you to
Souls,
walk in there.
yeah, ordering your General Souls, dish, all the time,
You said
because
General Tso.
you
General.
want this,
I
you want
can't
the
with you, bro. I
service.
can't. I
They
love
want the
it. I love
service,
it.
bro. You already know. Come on.
Yeah, yeah, no,
We love some General Soul, some sweet and sour chicken. You already know.
you
You know what I
already
mean?
know.
Or some Chinese chicken wings. We already know. And we want that resource there. So but it only takes, you know what? Let's not go in there anymore. That business will shut down, it'll leave. Open up your own spot. Open up
Right.
your own place. You know what I mean? But we're not really willing to do that.
And
We're not
that's
willing to
actually
do that.
why on like yesterday I said I don't think integration was was the highest goal that we should have sought for as
Hmm.
our people, because it never required us to do those things. I mean, it allowed us to just remain consumers rather than, okay, yeah, we done ran the Chinese place out of our community. Then we need to support
Hmm.
Talib's soul food as he's getting started, or we need to support
Right.
Jason's bus line as he's getting it underway. Whatever it is, we never did that. We kind of missed that part, and we're like, oh, well, now we can get these people in our community. They're gonna sell us our hair. They're gonna do our nails. They're gonna get our wings. Rather than how do we continue to grow and resolve issue? Because again, the
Right.
biggest issue was not that white folk wouldn't let you into Woolworth and the snack counter downtown. That wasn't the biggest
Hmm.
issue. The biggest issue was the fact that we didn't have anything. People of the high melanin didn't have certain things in our communities, and we should be doing those things rather than
Right.
waiting for somebody else to come in and then to be poking our lip out, upset about it, and such like
Hmm.
that. Because
Exactly.
I tell people all the time, all around the Atlanta University Center. I know Willie Dock is in here, so he knows what I'm talking about. All around the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta are all these old, dilapidated houses, all these old built. I mean, there's literal blocks. I mean, it's not as bad as like you see in, like some Detroit pictures sometimes, but it's pretty desolate. And none of us are coming through there buying those houses. None of us are coming
Right.
through scooping up those tax liens, scooping up those houses and doing something with it. But as soon as somebody come in there, we're gonna poke our lip out and talk
Yep.
about, oh, they didn't put a Starbucks on the corner. They didn't turn
Mm-hmm.
Spiegel's into a Dunkin' Donuts. That's your fault. That's our
Yep.
fault. There's no reason why at this stage of the game, Morris Brown College should still have a burned out building that looks like a bomb dropped on it. It is literally a quarter mile from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And it is a huge building that is burned out from Morris Brown College, a historically Black college and university, which is tied to Spelman, Morehouse, and Clark and Atlanta Interdenominational Theological Center. All those schools are right there. They all touch Morris Brown. And that building looks like a burned out wreckage from a third world country. But y'all gonna poke your lip out when Bank of America buys that building. Y'all gonna poke your lip out when Oprah comes through there and buys it and turns it into a doggone eat, work, and play and gentrification. Then you're gonna poke your lip out. But nobody stopped y'all right now. Your sororities and your fraternities, y'all want to stomp around the yard and get with your arthritis. Why don't y'all go and buy them buildings up? Nothing's stopping y'all from going down MLK right now. As a matter of fact, everybody watching this, because all of y'all live in major cities, going down MLK, because everybody's got an MLK in their city, going down MLK and buy them buildings. Buy them. Buy them. Pull your money together with your alumni association, your deacon board, your HOA. Buy the buildings up so that they don't, and then do something great with them. Instead of poke your finger out, poke your lip out, mad at the Asians, Hispanics, and all the other people groups that you can't spell their names, but you upset because they are doing something that you refuse to do until they do it. Then all of a sudden you mad because somebody did it. Who does this?
Yeah. Then we want a handout.
Right. Then we mad because well then the hair store needs to be giving us 25% off because I why? They should charge you the same amount they charge everybody else. Why should they?
Or whoever buys that apartment building should make it Section 8.
Absolutely. Why?
You know what
Why
I mean?
should
And give us low income housing.
Why do you want low income housing? Why don't you want what? See, listen to the term low income housing. Why do you want low income housing? Why don't you want to raise incomes?
Because it raises responsibility.
Why are you not striving? Because again, low income housing, in my opinion, is pointing at other people rather than saying, I need to raise up my income in order to deal with this. Now, I know before you get in the comment section, people, before you get in the comment section, I just want you to know right now, I am not taking my medicine. I'm going to give you the business in this comment. So don't come to this comment section thinking Dear Woke Christian is going to be all kumbaya. I'm coming in here full blazing because it's just, that's what's going to happen. So don't come in the comment section expecting grace. It's not going to happen. It's just not. Deacon Whitaker is not going to be here tonight. So, however, why are we not desiring and wanting to do better? Why do you want a handout from the government? Why do you want the government to tell Talib that he has to hire you? Talib don't want to hire you. He don't like you. He don't like you. Yeah. He's telling the truth. Talib, do you like him? Talib said no.
I don't.
He don't like you. So don't make him hire you. He gonna make you work hard. He gonna stiff your paycheck. He gonna give too much for FICA. He's gonna, whatever. He don't like you. Go work somewhere else that somebody likes you. Why are y'all fight? I don't understand that, bro. I've never seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's really it's unfortunate, man, that we have a mindset and we've fed so long into the victimhood mentality.
Yes.
You know, where we believe that we deserve this. And I say this all the time, man. Like, yo, the hood got money, man.
Come on, man.
Hood got money. They'll be in low income housing, but have $500 sneaks on, $200 jeans on,
Yeah, yeah.
$300 t-shirt on, drive a car that's that's that's
More
real
than
nice.
my car.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. But you in low income housing, and that's the mindset though. Like, we take advantage of the system, and you're not realizing you're hurting yourself. Like you destroying, just like when all the riots was happening. You destroyed your own community. You destroying resources that were in your community, that were helping you, and giving it. You ain't think about grandma down 2 blocks that get her medication from there. You ain't think
Mhm.
about, the single mom that's working hard that needs to get some clothes from this store once and again because the seasons is changing. Like, it was such a selfish thing, man. To see, and such a self-destructive, action that took place. It was really sad to see.
No, and I agree 100% with that because we can talk about that for 2 days. I do want us to talk not tonight, not tonight. However, I would love to have a conversation. Maybe April can jump in. Maybe others would like to jump in about why is it that Black folk love to flex? Like, why do we have to flex $500 sneakers? My sneakers are not $500. I'm just gonna let you know that right now. My gym shoes ain't nowhere. They ain't seen they ain't seen upwards of 50 in a long time. Um, but again, like why do there's something about us that want to do that. Um, and so my point, Talib, can you put your name on the thing? Did it allow you?
Hold on. Um,
Let me make sure your name is on there.
Typed it in.
Okay, hold on. Maybe I don't have it. Oh, sorry. There we go. My bad. It was me. All right, because somebody asked who you were, so I want to make sure I noted who you
Gotcha.
were.
Gotcha.
Now,
I'm
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 assuming they
I'm,
know
I'm
who I
crazy
am.
enough
I'm
to put my
assuming that,
home.
but I mean,
I'm
I would
putting
love to
dumb
have
enough to
that
put my whole
conversation.
government name up on here.
Okay, you can take it. I mean, you don't have to. You can put Talib Aloysius Smith on there, man. We not.
It's all good. I'm messing
But
around.
but no, man. I would love to have that conversation, man, and just talk about it.
Yeah.
Um, Prayerfully, we can have another debate, not a debate, another discussion with somebody that even thinks affirmative action is a good thing. I would love to have a
No,
conversation
but
with y'all.
I'm not
Um,
opposed to that.
no, but
Not
just
opposed to that.
don't bring emotions. But you can go on and leave all your matter of fact, you know what somebody
Yeah.
said, and I thought this was really good. If you can write out your position on a single sheet of paper and pass it to me, I should feel the exact same. I should be able to come to the conclusion that you have by you just writing it out. Because see, when you write it out, there ain't gonna be no emotions in there. When you just write it out,
That's
there ain't gonna
right.
be there's not no yelling and voice inflection. I should be able to read it and come to the exact same conclusion that you've come to. Now, if I
Right.
can't read it and come to that
Right.
conclusion, there's a problem. And probably because you didn't actually have a good position to start with. But that's a whole nother point. But go ahead.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't cut you off.
In terms of the whole, why are we like this? I'll just, kind of brief that is. It's consumerism, man. It's a
Yeah.
consumerism. And it's long standing. We can talk about white supremacy. We can talk about the white person, the white man done this. The man did this. The man,
We love it.
systematic racism does that. But we'll buy Gucci, man. We'll buy it. We'll buy, and who owns? The white supremacists that we're talking about, right?
Right. But watch this.
We fund that though, right?
But watch this. We'll even buy the fake one. We'll buy the fake one. Like we'll buy the fake Gucci. We'll buy the fake, the Poochie. We'll
Just
buy
the
the
front.
right, just the front. We'll buy the Jordan with a chicken wing in his
Oh yeah,
hand.
yeah,
But why? Just because as April said, we're insecure. We're insecure.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
we
yeah.
can definitely have a conversation about that. I think that would be another opportunity for us to get on some people's bad lists and such like that. This is an opportunity to get off of people's Christmas lists. I have less Christmas gifts to buy this year by making them mad now. So if I do it right, I won't have to worry about y'all for Christmas time. That's my thought. What's
Yeah,
going on,
man,
Bobby?
it's got to be. We weren't, back in those days, like right after slavery, people didn't want to be consumers; they wanted to be producers.
Right. I like
They
that.
were they
Yes.
produced their own. Oh, if we can't ride a bus, we're gonna have our own bus line. They're older. It's the older generation from the South. They're like, what we talking about? We weren't worried about getting on the front
Mm,
of somebody's bus line because we had our own bus line.
right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think it was a clip in Uncle Tom too.
Yep. There was a bus line
That shit
before.
had, yeah, that
Yeah,
it's like we had our own thing, and we talk about that in terms of like, oh, black empowerment, black empowerment. It's like, we're already empowered in these things. It's the willingness to sacrifice, because it takes sacrifice to be an entrepreneur.
yeah, it does.
It's not glamorous. It's not a glamorous life at all.
But
We
she
know
leave.
entrepreneurs,
Right.
and it was a hardship. When you were just breaking even. You know what I mean? Them first
Yeah,
couple years, and you under in terms of the revenue you thought you was gonna make. It's
for
a
sure.
hard pill to swallow.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But it takes sacrifice, but it can be done. It can be done. You know what I mean? And that's what we need to feed this younger generation. Not you're a victim, not your skin color can get you killed. Your skin color can have you put under arrest for driving, as a person, or you know. And I done drove for over 20 some years, and every time I got stopped, it was by a white officer, and
hmm
I've never had a bad run in with a police officer ever, ever. You know
and
what I mean?
before
I've been
somebody
black all my life.
and before somebody jumps in and says, "Well, that's an anecdotal story," all y'all been giving us is anecdotal stories. So, yeah,
Exactly.
this is his anecdotal
But that's the
story about
majority. The
why.
stats speak to that.
Right, but the stats also are in his favor. So before you jump in that comment section, because like I told you, you're not safe this week. This week is not safe. Before you jump in the comment section, be mindful of what the man said before you say something out of pocket, because he just literally gave you some nuggets.
Yeah,
So you need to hold on to that.
yeah, man. But I'm glad affirmative action is actually being dealt with. As I said, if it's a serious argument out there, if there's a serious discussion about something, I have no problem entertaining that, discussing that. Let's think of a
Oh, for sure.
resolution together type of deal. If it's something serious, not this whole, the boogeyman of racism is going to come back,
Because
showing
that
me
was
inflated stats. No,
Yeah,
but
because if you bring the boogeyman of racism is coming back, I'm gonna ask you, please explain to me the case itself. Like, explain what
hmm
was going on that brought about that, what was happening, just like we did with Kim. Explain to me what happened at Harvard that brought this case before the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to now strike it down. You have to be able to explain that. So before you jump in the comment section
hmm
and get all in your feelings, be able to explain what happened and what brought about the case. Because if you can't bring about and explain what brought about the case,
right,
we're gonna have some issues. So don't even waste your time or mine
exactly,
or your feelings. Because I'm telling you right
exactly.
now,
And
Deacon Whitaker is
I
not in
I've
the
seen
building.
some some data just off the top of my head. I think I forget what article or what letter I might have been reading in reference to affirmative action. Um, it was talking about how if affirmative action is not there, it's going to be about a 27% drop in you know
I believe I know what you're talking about, but I know that the president from Morehouse said it's gonna be a 40% drop. I'm like, where are you getting that number from? Talib looks like he froze. Brother Talib looks like he froze out. But yeah, I remember that my president from Morehouse literally said that there'd be a 40% drop in African Americans or black students at Yale because of the undoing of affirmative action. Where did you get that from? Like, where did that number come from? I want to see, how are you determining that? So you're telling me that 40% of the students that were being accepted did not, I'm sorry, had great grades, great academic resume, all the extracurriculars, great attitude, and would not be able to get in just because they're black. You're gonna have to prove that one. I'm sorry. I'm
yeah,
sorry. And
exactly.
I don't know if that's the particular case that you were speaking about, Talib, but I remember that's one that I looked at yesterday.
Yeah, it's the same, but it's the same. It's going to be the same argument. Whenever
Yeah,
there's disparity, quote it equals racism. And that's a very low uh intellectual argument. It's a
yeah,
very lazy argument.
very
You know what I
lazy.
mean? Like we have to do better in terms of finding out why the numbers are there. What's the real reason behind that, instead of the talking head telling us that it's just racism, and fueling the narrative, yet once again to keep us in an emotional state in order to keep the agenda on track.
But
We
there's
gotta do
another
better.
thing I think that we often see. We try to explain or justify something rather than just accept that it is. Okay, fine.
Hmm.
There, rather than just say in the city. Matter of fact, this is Fourth of July weekend. Keep your eyes on Chicago and see what happens during Fourth of July weekend, extended weekend period. Just watch. So rather than accept and say, man, you know what? Chicago got a problem. We got a problem and we need to resolve this problem. They find a way to point the finger at everybody else except the people that pointed those guns at particular people. Rather than that, they're going to come up with a ton of excuses and you're going to see it. And I really want you to pay attention to that. How often, when something comes up, there's always a mad rush to explain it away or give it
Yeah.
some kind of 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 story and narrative that nobody's actually resolving the problem. Nobody's seeking to say, hey, you know what? This is a bad hand I was dealt with. But, like Kenny Rogers said, I need to know when to fold them, know when to hold them, know when to walk away and when to run. So I need to know how to do that with whatever hand I'm given. Rather than that,
Mhm.
they're gonna explain away and give some kind of narrative to everything that happens. Watch Chicago this weekend. It's kind of weird because
Absolutely.
is a is a it's a regular weekend with a Monday, then you're off on Tuesday. So this is going to be interesting. But watch
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of call outs tomorrow.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. What happened in South Baltimore?
Yeah, I saw that.
What happened in South
I
Baltimore?
didn't see it.
Okay,
I didn't see that today.
I'm gonna give. I don't know. I've not been paying attention to the news. So what
I
happened?
gotta find out about that one.
Wow, a mass shooting. Here we go. Okay, let's. You know what? I'm gonna put my theory to the test. My own theory that I just said. We're gonna put it to the works. And all right, let's see. Here we go. Let's pull this up. This was interesting, man. All right, here we go. Y'all can see that 30 people shot in mass shooting at South
Mm,
Baltimore block party. 2 are dead. 14 minors among those injured in Baltimore mass shooting. At least 2 shooters sought. All right, just look at this picture. Just looking at the picture.
mhm.
What
Where is
what what
that at
kind of
there? What
community?
kind of housing?
Yeah, what kind of
Oh,
housing are we
that's
talking about?
projects.
This is
We're talking about
projects, man.
low income housing.
Yeah, this is a low income project community. Man. All right, let's go. 2 people are dead after as many as 30 people were shot in a mass shooting. You know what I find is interesting though? They're calling it a mass shooting. I don't remember that being, and this might be something maybe I just haven't been keeping up with it. They call them mass shootings now. If
You know what? That's always kind of like a transient term, though.
okay,
People mean different things when they attach that term
yeah,
to situations. You know what I mean? Like no more. They don't. We don't know if it was a drive-by shooting.
correct. That's what I
You know what
mean.
I mean?
So growing up, gang gang fights and gang shootings were regular. Okay,
Mhm.
I then and multiple people would have been shot. I'm aware of that. I think for it to be a mass shooting had to be at least 2 or 3 people shot simultaneously in the same event for it to qualify as a mass shooting. So I know of many mass shootings following that standard. Nobody ever called it mass shootings. They said gang violence or
Exactly.
particular violence. I just think that it's interesting using the term mass shooting. Okay, but let's finish up. Overnight in Brooklyn. Oh, is this Brooklyn? While investigators search for the shooters, Baltimore police said, is there a place called Brooklyn in Baltimore? Interesting. Okay. I just want to see, do they actually give you an attempt to explain away the narrative and give you, you know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
acting Baltimore Police Commissioner Rich Worley said during a news conference shortly after 5 a.m. that officers received multiple calls just after 12 a.m. of a mass shooting in the 800 block of Gertna Court, where there was a block party underway. Residents told 11 News there was a large gathering in the neighborhood before they heard what sounded like fireworks, which they later learned were gunshots. Some residents raised concerns about the lack of patrols in the area during the event, but Worley said that the event was not permitted and the police were unaware of it taking place until sometime Saturday. I'm just going to stop right there.
Mhm.
You already
Mhm.
see, you can already tell where they're going with this. Like the lack of police presence is the reason why these people shot themselves. Like there's no accountability for the shooters, no accountability for anybody else. They're gonna blame it all on the police. My job is to investigate and see what our officers did once we figured out that there was a large party, Worley said. I, okay. I can already see where they're going with this already. Worley said officers found an 18-year-old woman dead at the scene. 9 others were taken to the hospital, and as many as 20 others, ranging from the ages of 13 to 32, arrived at hospitals across the region on their own. Worley said 14 minors were among the injured. 20-year-old man also died, and 3 others are in critical condition. Man, that's crazy. Metro Crime Stoppers identify the deceased victims, and I don't want to read their names. The University of Maryland Medical System said it received patients at shock trauma as well as others at the University of Maryland Medical Center's Pediatric Emergency Department. MedStar reported receiving several patients from Harvard
Mhm.
Hospital, or rather at Harbor Hospital, some of which were stabilized and transferred to trauma centers. Some patients have been treated and released. Man, oh, I already see it. I already see it. I
Uh-huh.
don't. I
Uh-huh.
already see it. Illegal guns in
Legal
Baltimore City.
guns. Oh, that just started happening, didn't it?
Oh, I mean, really, the guns just walk around on their own, doing the deed. You already know this. I'm not gonna read all of this. Like again, like
Yeah.
okay, I know I'm gonna get pushback because I'm not reading the whole thing, but we got the police captain, we got guns, we got the mayor. I just wonder, did they ever hold the people in the community responsible to take care of their own community? We got city council person in the title. We got this state attorney involved in it. I'm gonna go back and read it, but I wonder, do they ever hold the people in this community? Because keep in mind, this is the community. I don't think the mayor lives here. I don't think the city attorney, the state attorney, the councilman, I don't think any of them live in this
Mhm.
community right here. It's these
Right.
people in this
Right.
community's responsibility.
But you know what's an interesting will be an interesting perspective that we never hear in these things. We always take it as um everybody was having a good time, then maybe a group of thugs
Oh
came
yeah,
and shot the place up. But have we ever thought about maybe it was another group of thugs in the crowd shooting back at those others? And that's
very
why the
much
whole
so.
thing started in the first place. We never get that. We never get that type of story. It's
No,
always, oh, these individuals got shot, and of course, this is tragic. We don't want this happening anywhere. But they don't want to tell you the entire story. That
right.
maybe this was a retaliation from from something that happened another week, and put stories together. This is a shooting. This is gang related. We're gonna stop this. We're gonna figure out who was doing the shooting. We're gonna get some footage if we can, get some community participation in this. We don't really about that. We're about, it becomes extremely political. It goes from 0 to 80 in the political sphere. And
Absolutely.
they want to talk about illegal guns as if the
Illegal
guns,
guns.
were locked up and they escaped prison
Right,
and they
right.
got out and just started shooting folk. You know what I
Like,
mean?
where did the guns come
Like,
from?
no, it's
Like,
it's, it's a community that buys it. It's folk in a certain community that buy them up,
for sure.
and use them. Yeah,
No, I think that's. Thank you, Atlanta 82. I'll finish reading it on my own. I'm not
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
bore y'all with it. But
man.
yeah.
But yeah,
But
this whole thing, and to me, it's cultural.
oh,
It's
for
cultural,
sure.
and it feeds back into the whole affirmative action, thing. Why is it that Black communities take up, or oh, why isn't this particular group getting in? It's not meeting the qualifications. Then they want to get into we get into the reasons why, and then that's when it becomes political. you know
Yes.
oh, it's because low income places don't have good schools, which I do agree with. I can agree with that. But in terms of reasons why, it's not racism, because in a lot of these places, urban communities, you have Black school district,
Mm-hmm.
Black superintendent,
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Black
Watch out.
mayor. And why isn't the money getting fed to these schools? Why isn't the funding getting there? It's because it's being held up in other places. Resources are not distributed the way they should, and teachers are not being held accountable the way they should be held accountable. They could do a terrible job or just push students through, to
Yep.
the next grade without proper education, and we wonder why they're not ready. And communities accept it as long as they got nice clothes, as long as the prom can look like a red carpet of the Grammys. You know what I mean? We can post that on IG, then
Yeah, yeah.
everything is good. You know what I mean? And it just shows that it's priorities out of whack. And I'm not saying, this is, oh, everybody in the Black community is like that. Of course that's not what I'm saying. But by and large, when we see, inner city, situations like this, it's a certain culture that's at work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what needs to really change. It's not the skin color, it's the culture.
Absolutely. And the only way that we can resolve the culture is by bringing the gospel. That's the only
Amen.
way. That's the only way. So at the end of the day, I mean, because we can fix all these issues by snapping our finger, but the heart issue is still there. And these people,
Absolutely.
you need Christ. You need to be converted. And therein is the
Right.
the true transformation, because this world
Mm,
has its myriad of issues, and those issues are not going to be resolved through politics. They're not going to be resolved through policies or decisions or court cases. They're going to be resolved at the foot of the cross, where we bring our sin and turn them over to our Savior. So, yeah, that's a
amen to
good
that.
catch, though, man. That was good. I
Yeah,
appreciate it,
man. Thank
Talib.
you, brother.
No problem, man.
Yeah,
Thank you
I'm
for
going
coming.
now, and
Say again.
I said I'm gonna head on out.
Oh, no problem, man. Well, hey,
But yeah, man, it was a blast, having me on once again, man. I appreciate the opportunity as always. Come on here and act a fool and get in some trouble, with my man Jason, man. He wants me to start trouble, so I was like, hey,
I
if
mean,
I have a free place to start trouble, I'm gonna start some trouble. You
let's
know what I
do
mean?
it. Let's do it. No, I appreciate it, man. Thanks so
But
much,
thank you
man.
once again, brother.
Always
We'll
good,
we'll
man.
talk,
Always.
and I'll look forward to coming back again.
You got it, man. We'll do it again. Grace and peace.
All
Take care,
right,
friend.
grace and peace.
Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. I do appreciate you. This is the Week in Woke, and I wanted to go over that Supreme Court case and just get another perspective on it. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully that was good. Before we break up out of here, though, however, I do want to ask you to do me a favor. If you could, your favorite Christian YouTubers. I don't know who they might be. It might be Caldwell Apologetics. It's probably K Dub or April or Richard Contramundum or Daryl King, Montana Viking. I don't know. If you could you please go and watch 5 of their videos and leave a comment on each one of their videos? So if it's Eric Smith, servant of God, servant of Christ, can you please just go to his channel and just leave him, watch a couple of his videos, leaving a comment on each one of them, and just let them know that you appreciate them. That would really help as we're starting a new month. A lot of content creators were struggling last month and the month prior. And this would be a great way to kind of get them a little boost, if you will, to start the month of July. So just something I thought about and just thought I would throw it out there. There's no mandates, no requirements or anything like that. But if you can, if you have the opportunity, stop by some of your favorite channels and just let them know that you appreciate them. Let them know what's going on. I'm sorry, that you appreciate what's going on and that. So that would be that. Also, if you like what I'm doing here, you want to support me on Buy Me a Coffee, my links are in the bio as well. Feel free to stop by and I'm glad you enjoyed the conversation, Willie Doc. Um, if you enjoy that, if you want to support me on Buy Me a Coffee, check me out. I dropped that link right there as well. Um, can you put their names in the comments? Oh, okay, sure. I was just kind of going off the cuff, but I'll do the standard of truth. I guess I'm doing this right off the and please forgive me if I make any typing or spelling errors. Charge it to my fingers and my eyesight getting that far away. All right. All right. I think this, I'm bringing these up right off the top of my head. So, and of course, Susie Q, the moderator of the best moderator on the planet, is coming through to help me out. Thank you so much, Susie. And she's going to be dropping those links in there. Thank you so much for asking that question, Tina Marie. Susie's helping me out there. Thank you, Susie. I deeply appreciate it. Thank you so much, friend. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the conversation today. And again, I just want to give a different perspective, a different view, a different angle, if you will, on the Supreme Court case. I know you're going to see a lot of, I'm sure today was Sunday. I'm sure there was a lot of hand wringing. You know, next week is going to be a lot of woe is me. But we as people who are, one, who think clearly, and two, people who are in Christ, we don't have to be like that. We don't have to be hand wringing. We don't have to be woe is me. We can look at a situation, we can assess the situation and move accordingly. We don't have to sit here and woe is me. The world's coming to an end. I'm not going to be able to go to college because they're not able to discriminate based upon race. That's just silliness. It's just silly. And I'm hoping that you will see and hear my heart that my desire was to just point that out and help to encourage you to look at situations more robustly, be step back and scrutinize it. You don't have to just go with the narrative that's being doled out to you. You can ask more questions and you can push back. And I hope that you got that from me on today, because that was my whole goal and my whole desire was to just push back a little bit on this woe is me narrative. The world's coming to an end. Black people can't do if somebody's not giving you a handout. No, that's not the case at all. The case is we can do some great and exceptional things because we've been given great minds to do things. And we don't have to sit here and say, if somebody doesn't put their thumb on the scale, we can't succeed. That's not true at all. And remember, Leviticus 19 talks about having equal weights, just weights, and such of that nature. So we want to be obedient to the scriptures, and we don't want to be out here wilding out like Harvard was doing. I mean, good gracious, they were wilding out. So I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you so very much. This rest of this week, I'll be putting up some fun shorts. Thank y'all so much for supporting the Whitaker Talk Show. She did a takeover of a couple of the shorts, and she did a really good job. I was very impressed with her. So if you're not familiar with that, if you comment on videos now, YouTube allows us to reply to you using a YouTube short. So we can actually make a little video reply. So that's actually another reason why you should go to check out your favorite YouTube content creators. Give them a comment so they can reply back to you using a short. But the reason I bring that up is because somebody left a comment and the Whitaker Talk Show wanted to reply. Dad, let me reply. No problem, kiddo. Go ahead. and she did a really good job. I enjoyed it. So she did that twice, and you can check them out. They're on my channel in the shorts. They're the one with the pretty looking Whitaker on there, not me. So I think you can probably figure out which one it is. But so yeah, that's my big girl. But I appreciate it. And feel free to comment, all that kind of good jazz down in the comments below. Make sure that you check out the rest of what we're doing this week. I'm looking forward to having a great time. And I think that's everything. Shout out to President Firstborn. Yes, she and my wife and Chief Executive Secondborn are out of town this week. So prayerfully they'll be back on Wednesday with no problems at all. Susie, thank you so very much. I really, really do appreciate you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Yes, check out Corey Miner, same thing. KW True, Proverbial Life, absolutely. Berean Babes, I was literally just coming off the top of the dome. What's going on, Mr. Champlin? Good to meet you and good to see you. All right, I am going to get ready to bug out of here. Everybody, thank you very much. I appreciate the comments. I'll go through the chat later on, but I thank you all so much for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you to Talib for stopping by, and that was fun. Good to have him come by as well. And we'll do this again real soon, everybody. Lord willing, we'll do it next week, if not sooner. And until then, everybody, grace and peace. Take care. See you soon.